Okay, lesson 26. We continue reading Hatha Yoga Pradipika, chapter 1, Sutra 33. Something very special happens here after the introduction of asana, suggested by Svatmarama to be in favor of, to be favored by Vashishta and Machendra. Sutra 33 says the asanas propounded by Shiva are 84 in number. Of those I shall describe 4, which are the quintessence. Shiva, that is God. So Svatmarama first introduced a series of asanas that were favored by some lower beings, so to speak. But now he is referring to Shiva. 84 exercises propounded by Shiva. That is an indication that what follows is of a higher or bigger magnitude than what we have seen so far. It's an indication that something follows that is even better than what came before. Of those 84 propounded by Shiva, the god Shiva, 4 will be described here. And you will see, while the previous asanas were all described with 1 sutra and later some special asanas with 2 sutras, here many more sutras are dedicated to these asanas, which in itself also is an indication that it's something to pay attention to. 34th sutra. These 4, Siddha, Padma, Simha and Bhadra, are the most excellent. Of these 4, the most comfortable Siddhasana can always be assumed. I assure you that Siddhasana is the least comfortable of these. This sutra is telling us that it's the most comfortable one that can easily be assumed. We will see, because we're going to try it out. And towards the end of the course, it's also on the schedule. Siddhasana. 35. The Siddhasana is now described. Press the perineum with the base of the left heel and place the other foot firmly above the penis or the pubis. Keep the chin steadily on the chest. The text says breast, stupid Dutch translator. On the chest. Remain motionless with the sense under organs under control, and with steady vision look at the spot between the eyebrows. This is called Siddhasana. It throws open the door to emancipation. Wow, that is quite a lot that is being described here. Remain motionless with the sense organs under control, and with steady vision look at the spot between the eyebrows means this is a pure concentration exercise. Not only that, energy control exercise. The 4 exercises described here, propounded by Shiva, are pure Kundalini exercises. All exercises are in fact Kundalini exercises, but these are very powerful Kundalini exercises. Very particular Kundalini exercises. And you do them by focusing, concentrating. The name in itself, Siddhasana, tells us a lot too. Because siddhis, a person who possesses siddhis is a siddha. And a siddhi, those are the paranormal or supernatural abilities that yoga practitioners develop, that every person can potentially develop, provided that the condition is created for them to manifest. And yoga particularly creates those circumstances for siddhis to manifest. So direct reference that this exercise in particular and the three other ones, the energy phenomena that they cause, the Kundalini effect, lead to the manifestation of those paranormal abilities. Now the technique. Press the perineum with the base of the heel. That's a little bit of an awkward description, but what you do is you sit on your heel. So you place your foot such that the heel is pointing up. So do not allow the foot to be flat. The heel must be pointing up. And then you sit on the heel with the heel exactly in the center, the perineum. Then there is a tendency that we end up sitting like this. So you have to use your muscles in your hips and waist to get straight again. Then make a hollow back, hands on the knees, tuck in the chin. You apply Jalandhara Bandha for a very specific reason. Now you focus. Kundalini energy rises from the bottom up. So sitting on your heel might seem very awkward, but why? First of all, Kundalini is a phenomenon that does not occur in most people. Because we are lacking consciousness in the bottom of our body. Muladhara chakra, Surya Bindu. Sitting on the heel does not allow you anymore to ignore that lower region of your body. The discomfort makes you acutely aware of Muladhara chakra and Surya Bindu. The reason why you make a hollow back and lean a little bit forward is that you're not with your full weight on your heel. That's very uncomfortable. If you lean a bit forward, 1/3 of your weight is on your heel, 1/3 on each knee. Tuck in the chin. The energy that you stimulate to rise up, Kundalini energy, accumulates because you apply the throat lock. Instead of that energy going directly up and out, you accumulate the Kundalini energy, which is a supercharged Shakti energy. So tuck in the chin, Jalandhara Bandha. Focus on that discomfort in your groin, perineum, and then visualize huge amount of energy rising up. Concentrate on nada and let nada be the draft horse that pulls that energy up. You will see if you do this for a minute or two, you get off your heel, something very special happens. You might even feel heat on your face, on your cheeks. Okay, you slowly come off your heel. Keep your eyes closed, and in Sukhasana, just allow that energy to settle. Two things. You can feel the heat, possibly. Not everybody will experience that. But you will also notice that nada is very loud, which is an indication, direct indication that all that energy has risen up. Okay? Of course, it's asymmetric, so you repeat. You switch legs. There is an element that you can add to this, provided that you're flexible enough to do Padmasana. You can add half Padmasana. If that is too uncomfortable, you keep your foot down on the ground. But it is important that you do not passively sit on your heel. Try to straighten the pelvis, the hips. Use the muscles in your thighs, your hips, and your waist to level the hips horizontally. And there is also a mudra, which is a higher control exercise than pranayama, higher energy control than pranayama. It's exactly like this. But then you stay also much longer on your heel. Slowly come off the heel, keep your eyes closed. Take a little time for the energy to settle down. So Sutra 36 describes sitting on the other heel, which we've done already. According to another view, placing the left ankle above the pubis and keeping the other ankle above it is Siddhasana. Some say this is Siddhasana, others know it as Vajrasana, some call it Muktasana, and others speak of it as Guptasana. For most people this has no meaning, but this sutra is emphasizing its enormous potential, its enormous power. And the meaning is embedded in those 4 different words to describe the exercise. Siddhasana I already explained. Siddhis are the supernatural or paranormal abilities. Vajra is a flash, a lightning bolt. So a lightning bolt is symbolism for the enormous rise of the Kundalini energy, Vajra. Muktasana, mukta means liberated. It leads to liberation. The previous sutra said it opens the door to emancipation. What does it mean, liberation, emancipation? That is a very wide concept, or a very elaborate development taking place in the human being. Liberation, yoga leading to liberation, this exercise particularly leading to liberation, implies that we are prisoners. But we don't think so. We can go to the supermarket, we can take a bus, we can go to sleep or not if we like, stay up late if we choose to do so. And yet, according not only to yoga but according to many philosophies, we are prisoners, imprisoned. In what? In our conditioning. We are ignorant and very limited in realizing the reality of ourselves and the world around us. So with your increasing consciousness, you also gradually become aware of your conditioning. Conditioning that started from the moment you were born, by the way that your parents brought you up, taught you what is right and wrong, by the way that you have received education, and a huge influence on the way that we see ourselves and the world around us is our culture, the particular culture from where you come from. I'm from not only the Netherlands, moreover, I'm from Amsterdam. The people from the Netherlands, they have their particular culture, but living in a different region, this culture also differs. And you grow up identifying with that. Each and every one of us do that just subconsciously. It is only human that we do that. You identify with your family, with your name. People find it very awkward that I am in Korea for so long, and I don't even have plans to go back. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. The universe will decide. But people think, how is that possible? You're Dutch, and how about your family? And yeah, I never say that, of course. But I think that is part of that liberation process. It allows you to detach from all these identifications to which you have an emotional attachment. It is emotional attachment that makes us imprisoned in those conditionings. So you rise above that. It's not important anymore. I haven't been back for 9 years. If I can, if there is an opportunity, I will, but the time is just not right. I will go when I feel it's time to go. Not when my family says, hey Ron, when are you going to come back? We miss you, and how can you stay there for so long, and don't you miss us? And then all the emotional manipulation starts, you know. It's okay, yeah, I miss you too, but you know, there are more important things. I don't say that, because, yeah, but if you have experienced this, you understand what I'm talking about. But that is liberation. It is a whole wide field of issues that are under the label of liberation, but this is one practical example of it. The last one, Guptasana. Gupta means protector, is that correct?
Gupta is actually secret.
Secret.
It's like something that you keep secretly. If someone tells you something and they ask you not to reveal it.
Okay. In that sense, I cannot explain it. When I looked it up,
but it can be used contextually in a different way as well. So
yeah, what I found is protector. Gupta means protector. Then protector, if something makes you healthier and stronger, I guess you can consider that as protection. So Sutra 37 is really emphasizing using symbolical terms, that this is an exercise that is rather special, not to be ignored. 38.
So,
yes.
Can I say?
Yes, please.
Kundalini energy is something that you cannot. Remember when we were talking about Kundalini, you said it's not something that you reveal easily. It's something that's meant to be kept like a secret because it is so powerful, right? When we were talking about Kundalini. So if this is igniting Kundalini, this particular asana is igniting Kundalini, so maybe it is Guptasana.
Right. Yeah, you can see it like that too. I should make a note of that. That it also means. Thank you. 38. The Siddhas know that as among yamas, a moderate diet is the most important, and among niyamas, harmlessness, so among all asanas is the Siddhasana. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 sutras, and there are more to follow, just to describe the importance of one asana. 39. Of the 84 postures, one should always practice Siddhasana. It purifies the 72,000 nadis. How does that work? Nadis are the energy channels. We get sick because there are obstructions in the energy channels. Yoga is healing because gradually you clean up existing obstacles in the energy circulation. Now, this exercise in particular, energetically, is so powerful, so naturally it will lead to the purification of those obstacles. The yogin who, contemplating the self and following a moderate diet, continually practices the Siddhasana during 12 years, obtains fulfillment. This is the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It is said that Hatha Yoga leads to, here they call it fulfillment. The end goal of yoga is liberation, emancipation, enlightenment. According to tradition, practicing Hatha Yoga brings you to that goal in approximately 12 years. Here that number comes back. It is said that Raja Yoga leads to that goal in 4 years. Because Raja Yoga focuses more on meditation. It builds on the foundation you lay with Hatha Yoga, but you empower it, you reinforce it. Those are, of course, no exact numbers, but it indicates the difference between the two. When the Siddhasana is mastered, of what use are the various other asanas? When the vital energy is well restrained by the practice of Kevala Kumbhaka, the Unmaniyavashta, which gives delight, arises of its own without effort. This is a little bit dangerous. The first sentence of this sutra implies that if you practice Siddhasana, you can ignore all other asanas. I do not recommend that. I am in favor of practicing a range of exercises that exercise upper and lower and left and right parts of the body. Holistic approach. It's like people saying when you have reached the stage that you can meditate, you can just completely forget about doing asanas. I do not agree with that, but you have to follow your feeling in that sense. When the vital energy is well restrained by the practice of Kevala Kumbhaka is pranayama, is inflow, kumbhaka, outflow, kumbhaka. And it is based on a count, certain count, with a ratio of 1, 4, 2, 4. You continue to increase that count, you continue to practice, and gradually increase that count until you reach the level of 80, 320, 160, 320. Pranayama is rather static. It's a technique. Many people get tired or bored with all the counting, especially when you reach higher counts. But it is an important tool to recondition ourselves to the point that we become Kevala Kumbhaka. And the meaning of Kevala Kumbhaka is spontaneous pranayama. What does that mean? That means that energy control after the reconditioning, which is the fulfillment mentioned in the previous sutra, reaching the highest levels of yoga, just a simple observation that your energy balance is out of whack will start a process that will readjust your energy levels to the point that you are in sattva. So as a normal, unconditioned, untrained human being, you don't even know what sattva means or what it feels like or how it works. But your practice of 8 pranayama exercises through time make you very familiar with your condition, with Shiva energy and Shakti energy. You become experienced at determining your condition at a certain time of the day or in a certain situation. So, like with driving a car, it becomes intuitive. In the beginning, you need to count. When you drive a car, in the beginning, you need to carefully watch everything that your hands and feet are doing. And at the same time, watch the road, and not only in front of you, but also through the mirrors, left and right and behind you. So in the beginning, that is very complicated. But when it becomes intuitive, you don't even think anymore. It's all based on feeling. In Korean, you call it jikkam, direct sense. A very appropriate word for that. So you feel you're out of whack, just that realization will start the process that you correct your condition without inflow, kumbhaka, outflow, kumbhaka, and all the counting that is related to that. But to get to that point, kevala kumbhaka, we use the tool, the framework, to recondition ourselves. Unmaniyavashta is the condition where the crown chakra is open, functioning. And the last sentence says, this arises of its own without effort. That is the intuitive aspect that I try to explain with Kevala Kumbhaka. In the beginning, when you practice yoga, you feel especially good during your practice. And maybe an hour or an hour to 2 hours after your practice. But if you continue to practice and you do it regularly, that condition becomes more and more extended until it actually becomes permanent. You become yoga, and yoga becomes you, as I've said before. You become sattvic. Even when you sleep, then it becomes nidra, that you contemplate while in between a sleep and awake state. So that is what it means that it arises of its own without effort. Practice yoga, recondition yourself, and you become yoga. You become sattvic. You become a natural contemplator, meditator. It's simply taking on a whole new condition. But you need to work for that. Let that be clear. Just towards the end of the first chapter, Svatmarama says, just talking about yoga doesn't do the work. Or just dressing like a yogi, that doesn't do the work. Only thing that works is practice, practice, practice. As regularly as reasonably possible. 42, he can't get enough of Siddhasana, as you see. When there is complete mastery of the Siddhasana alone, the 3 bandhas follow naturally and without effort. I explained about the 3 bandhas. Many people, when they talk about the bandhas, they talk about it in very mysterious ways, and it's something that needs to be done with a lot of effort, squeezing muscles and what have you. And I try to explain that actually the bandhas occur quite naturally, spontaneously. You're not even aware of it that it is happening. People who are filled with vital energy naturally are straighter than normal people. It is in the straightness, when you sit, when you meditate, when you walk and you're straight, that these bandhas are in place. It's something that you don't have to look at, don't have to think about, because it's happening naturally as a result of your condition. This sutra confirms that. The 3 bandhas follow naturally and without effort. That's not only the result of siddhasana, as this sutra suggests. Your entire package of yoga practice that you do actually leads to that natural coming into being of the 3 bandhas, the natural activation of these 3 bandhas. 43. There is no asana like the siddhasana, no kumbhaka like kevala, no mudra like the kechari, and no laya like that of the inner sound. This is the second time that nada is mentioned in only chapter 1. Nada, as you know from lesson 1, is very important, and yet many yoga practitioners and even teachers do not know about nada. Laya, absorption of the mind, laya is fusion. To become one with whatever it is that you focus on. And this sounds very mysterious, maybe even new agey, but laya, or becoming one with something, will eventually lead you to become a specialist in whatever it is that you choose to do. So on a practical level, this has huge implications in your life. Whatever it is that you choose to do, based on following your heart, you will become a specialist in that field. All the rest is superficial. That is laya. As a yoga practitioner, you will more and more make your decisions based on your heart. Not what other people tell you, not what your culture dictates, not what your government dictates. You will more and more start following your feeling. And that will lead you also to make choices in your professional life. Instead of doing the job that you were trained to do and for which you have your diplomas, you might choose to do something that you're passionate about. That can still be the job that you had already and for which you had your diplomas, your training, your education, but it will now have a new dimension, the dimension of the heart, and that will lead you to become a specialist in that field, to stand out among all the others that are involved in the same kind of job. It is what has led me to be the yoga teacher that I am. Very totally different from all the others, most others, who just follow a certain pattern taught to them by their teacher and by a book. Kechari is the counterpart of Kundalini. Kechari is a very special mudra. In the beginning, the mudras focus on Kundalini energy, like these poses focus on Kundalini energy. With Kechari, you focus on Shiva energy, but not just Shiva energy, like Shakti, becoming Kundalini, supercharged, you supercharge Shiva energy in that mudra, Kechari. So Kechari here also deserves or is given a very special place, being emphasized as one of the most important exercises in yoga. I think I told you that to absorb Shiva, you can use the idea of drinking something very delicious. In all religions and spiritual practices and philosophies, there is talk of the divine nectar, the drink of the gods. And of course, we created an alcoholic drink with honey called mead and call it the drink of the gods because it's sweet, probably. But the real drink of the gods is Shiva energy, Kechari Mudra. No counting, no kumbhaka, you just open up and you just drink that holy drink. And the reason why they liken it to milk and honey and ambrosia and soma and ambrosia, that is to make you live that feeling. Because if you just think, oh, I should drink Shiva energy, it doesn't work. You have to long for it. You have to. The highest level of spirituality, believe me or not, believe it or not, is about feeling. It's about the highest levels of joy and bliss. And it sounds foolish maybe, or childish, but in the end the highest form of yoga is based on bliss and joy. Joy is Shakti, Kundalini, bliss is Shiva, Kenchari. There are 4 different kinds of samadhi, the highest meditation. And they either start with bliss or they start with joy. Didn't I put a photo in the Magic Pond Teachers in Training support group of a huge sequoia, a redwood? I do that with a purpose, because it creates a wow feeling. Just try to imagine walking in the forest and there is this huge tree. And just the thought, try to feel that. What do you feel? Hair in your neck is standing upright and all the energy goes up. It's energy control. Children are full of this. They just cannot manifest. As adults, when we're finally ready to manifest, we have become very dull, gray, and boring. And we have lost all the joy and bliss. So sad, in fact. We live in a very cruel world where you're constantly being told not to show your emotions, not to express yourself. And you're walking in a beautiful forest with beautiful butterflies and beautiful trees and what have you, plants, and you're just walking there like as if you're walking in Myeongdong in the street with all these shops, and you're totally blind to all that beauty that actually leads to an enormous elevation of your spiritual energies. And you know, the message here is just be like a child again. Admire. Admiration is bliss, is joy. Appreciate little things again. A little ant creeping in the grass, a butterfly going from one flower to another, a flower. Soon, after the winter, all these different kinds of colors in the mountains, on the riverside, everywhere. Even in a city like Seoul, with all the concrete and the asphalt, you can see if only you look. And I'm telling you that is of highly spiritual value. Now you think I'm going crazy, right? It's incredibly powerful. We just have to allow it again and ignore all those people that think you're just being childish. It happened in the past We have no open windows here, but my first studio in Itaewon had windows on every wall. And the first snow came down while I was teaching a class, and I saw that happening, and wow, it's snowing! And the people were like, "Teacher, you're being so childish." "Yes, but look, isn't it beautiful?" "Oh, yes, yes, yes." But for me, that's a miracle. I've lived like this. I've never become a boring gray. Fortunately, I've never been allowed to descend into that dark hole where you become gray and boring, like most adults do, because before that actually happened, I discovered yoga. And for me, it has always been natural to function like that, but the majority of society is very gray and boring and depressing, literally depressing that marvelous energy that you possess. Killing, literally killing spirit. And your spirit, that is your most valuable asset that you have, that we have. "44. Finally, after like 10 sutras glorifying Siddhasana, we have a new exercise. Then the Padmasana is described. Place the right foot on the left thigh and the left foot on the right thigh. Cross the hands behind the back and firmly take hold of the toes. The right toe with the right hand, the left toe with the left. Place the chin on the chest and look at the tip of the nose. This is called Padmasana. It destroys the diseases of the self-restraint. It's not just Padmasana, it is Pada Padmasana. Padmasana is the first part of the description. This is Padmasana. And because it's asymmetric, you can switch legs. You will notice how asymmetric your body is when you actually switch. Because if you don't think, you will always put the same foot up first. If consciously you switch, you feel very different. With Pada Padmasana, as described in the text, you swing your arms around the back, and if you're lucky, you can grab a foot, and if you're even more lucky, you can grab 2 feet. So I can get this far. Once you're able to do Padmasana, I think for you it will be very easy to grab also your feet. Does it hurt to put your left foot up also?
Yeah.
Yeah. Padmasana is an exercise you have to be careful with. The knees are very complex joints, and Padmasana causes a very weird twist in your knee. So you have to build it up very carefully. And one exercise that you can do to prepare for Padmasana is the pigeon pose. Pigeon pose and sleeping pigeon. And of course, all the other exercises that we do, gradually you will see that it becomes easier. First half Padmasana, and later you can carefully try. It's the second leg where there is the danger, because the pressure on the knee becomes very high here. So you just have to be patient. Control the desire. Place the chin on the chest is again application of Jalandhara Bandha, the throat lock. But looking at the tip of the nose, you don't do literally. You start looking cross-eyed when you do that. The nose here is the center of the head where there is nada. So this is again a description indicating this is a meditation exercise, like Siddhasana, where you were also told to, well, he said it with using other words, but it comes down to the same. With the sense organs under control and with steady vision, look at the spot between the eyebrows. Here. Now you look at the tip of the nose. You don't do that literally. It is an indication this is a meditation exercise. It destroys the diseases of the self-restraint. There is this idea or concept of diseases of the disciple. We call it the diseases of the disciple. Diseases of the disciple is not really a physical disease, but is related to your increased perception, which makes you vulnerable, which makes you possibly, especially in beginning stages, emotionally unstable. Diseases of the disciple is your increased consciousness and sensitivity. That opens you up, that makes you vulnerable more than other people, more than you were before. It makes you aware of things that you were not aware of before. About yourself, your past, but also about the world around you. And there is a lot of misery that you didn't see before that you start becoming aware of now. And that increased sensitivity, increased vulnerability, increased emotional instability, that is the diseases of the disciple. Especially in the beginning stages, because it is a new condition that touches you a lot. With time you get used and you find ways to sensibly deal with that increased perception, that increased consciousness and sensitivity. Next week, the first session, we finish reading the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, chapter 1, but the second session we will discuss Pratyahara. Pratyahara is designed to deal with the diseases of the disciple or your increased sensitivity and consciousness. Pratyahara is detachment. It's a very important subject that in most yoga courses is dealt with in 5-minute lecture and well, we will come to that next week. '45, 46 is describing that you switch your legs basically. Another view, place the feet with the necessary effort, soles up on the opposite thighs, and place the hands, palms facing upward. Between the thighs, direct the eyes to the tip of the nose and place the tip of the tongue at the root of the front teeth and the chin on the chest, and slowly raise upwards the prana. Here the Kundalini element is introduced. You place your hands between the thighs, somewhere here. Is not so important actually. I prefer to just cup the knees with the hands. You direct the eyes to the tip of the nose, which is again indicating it's a meditation exercise, concentration. But here you have something special that you also find in martial arts. You push the tongue at the root of the front teeth, and with that you close the gap in a meridian that is called the governor's meridian. So you have the head, nose, the mouth, and it is the mouth that is the gap here. Eye. From the side. side. Legs play no part. Let's use another color. The governor meridian goes like this. By pushing the tongue against the front teeth, you complete the circle. You close the gap that exists in the governor meridian. So in Kung Fu they do that too, and Buddhist monks have that technique as well. This is all subtle, you won't notice much when you do that, but it indicates, again, it's a rather special exercise like Siddhasana. The final sentence, by contracting the anus in Mula Bandha, don't do that. It's better to actually erase that last part. What is important is that you apply the throat lock and you slowly raise upwards the prana. So it is a Kundalini exercise again. 47, this is called Padmasana and it destroys all diseases. Ordinary persons cannot attain it. Only the intelligent on the earth attain it. Wow. So yoga is elitist? Is that the right word in English? Is it elitist only for very special elite people? That is the first impression you get here. But it is all in the word intelligent. Who is the intelligent? The intelligent one is the one that is properly initiated into the secrets of yoga. So it can be anyone. It's not elitist at all. It can be anyone. But provided that you find the right source of information, the right teacher that can give you insight into how this works. Assuming well the Padmasana with the palms one upon the other on the lap, fix the chin firmly on the chest and contemplating in the mind, repeatedly raise the apana upwards and bring the prana just drawn in downwards. Contemplating Brahman is God. This is a spiritual practice, but you know the practical meaning of Brahman or God. Contemplating Brahman in the mind, citta, repeatedly raise the apana upwards and bring the prana just drawn in downwards. So this refers again to the phenomenon. To make the model complete, Kundalini alone doesn't do the trick, because there are two energies. But there is only talk of Kundalini, especially in the beginning. There is no emphasis, even with Kechari Mudra, on Shiva energy. Why? Because Shiva energy always naturally flows in. That is the tragedy of mankind. That is why we have a tendency to end up in a tamas condition. Energy in the whole of the universe, including in our own body, has a natural tendency to condense, gravitate towards the bottom, and manifest into matter. But spirit is the opposite of that. It's an evaporation of energy. Energy rising up rather than gravitating to the bottom. Why is there constantly mention of Kundalini? To take control of our condition, our tragic condition. We need to have a kick in the butt. We need to have a kick in the Muladhara chakra. Because energy naturally gravitates to the bottom. We have that already. We need to make it go up now. And that is special about this. But only letting energy rise, that is only a first step. You need to go the next step. First energy rises, but then you need to add energy that comes from the top. And then you have the phenomenon where the heart opens up. The Star of David. The heart opens up when Shiva and Shakti meet at the level of the heart chakra in equal amounts, so there is sattva. So that is a condition. If you practice yoga regularly for an extended period of time, think years, if not decades, this condition comes about naturally. If you want to speed it up, you can focus on exercises like this particularly. But that is, I would not recommend that at all. Because with that you destroy everything that yoga in the process throughout the years and decades is offering you. The enjoyment of it. Try to practice for the enjoyment of it. I'm addicted to yoga because yoga feels good. Not because I pursue the Star of David or the opening up of the heart. That in itself creates a tension that leads to a blockage in your energy circulation. Just go about your normal daily life, remain human, with a new or extra dimension, which is the enjoyment of your daily yoga practice, which is not so difficult to maintain just because it feels good. Just because intuitively you know that that is something there for you. That is basically more important than anything else. Even will form the basis for anything else, everything else. And again, the contracting the anus, please erase that. The parts that are between square brackets have been added by interpreters of the text centuries after it was originally written. Some of those additions between square brackets are valid, but actually most of them are not. Once you understand what this is about, you realize that it sometimes even doesn't make sense what they added. The 48th Sutra continues a little bit more on the next page. By this, a man obtains unequaled knowledge through the power of Kundalini, which is roused by this process. Unequaled knowledge, that is of course wisdom, vision, intuition, all characteristics or qualities that manifest in the crown chakra. Not from a book, not from a teacher, but sheer power of contemplation. 49, and the last one for today. The yogin seated in the Padmasana posture, by steadying the energy drawn in through the nadis, becomes liberated. There can be no doubt about this. Many people think pranayama is breath control. But there are many sutras like this that do not talk about breath but talk about energy. Clearly. Seated in the Padmasana posture, steadying the energy drawn in through the nadis, energy channels, not the nostrils, energy channels, you become liberated. There can be no doubt about this. Questions? Siddhasana, Padmasana. Okay? Okay, let's have a short break.